Next up, we have Delmar Uqualla. And I'm so excited to introduce Delmar to you all. So Delmar was born in Wichita, Kansas, traveling between her 4 tribal nations. And she writes poetry and archives for social justice and a better understanding of indigenous culture and traditions. She is trained in holistic and ceremonial healing practices. Delmar's mediums are fashion, dance, song, writing, and activism. Delmar now travels internationally, teaching and learning in indigenous and women's ceremonies. So let's go ahead and give a big, warm welcome for Delmar.
Hauka. Enya Delmar Uqualla. I'm named after the sea, my grandfather, and my last name means warrior in Havasupai. I'm a part of 4 nations, the Namana, Koyugu, Havasubaha, and Ipai Tipai, also known as the Kiowa, Comanche, Havasupai, and Kumeyaay peoples. I'm a ceremonialist, artist, and activist. I was born here in Wichita and traveled in between to my reservation in California. I grew up in the powwows in Wichita and on the reservation in California. I thought everyone had access to their own powwows and ceremonies every weekend until I was 12. I thought everybody just danced around the drum or had access to their traditions. I grew up around talented regalia designers, also known as my mom, my grandma, and my aunt. I felt really regal as an indigenous woman. I didn't realize there had been any racism towards natives till I was way older because I was sheltered from it. Here is my grandmother, Annette Uqualla, and she's Kumeyaay, and here with her son, Nigel. And she's in the hat. The Kumeyaay are Ipai from San Diego and Baja. They have stories of mermaids and creation stories. We roam from the seas to the mountains, grass houses, basketry, yucca, and acorns. My grandfather, Delmar Uqualla, grew up in the Grand Canyon with his Havasupai peoples. Here's him in National Geographic. You may have seen these photos on social media lately of the waterfalls. The Kumeyaay got displaced by being enslaved to build the missions in San Diego and had to buy their own reservations. A lot of indigenous peoples were displaced all the way to the 1980s. My grandparents met at Sherman boarding school after my grandfather got taken to boarding schools ever since he was 5 years old. And my grandmother eventually ran away from all the boarding schools, and she still went to college for business and started her own indigenous art galleries around Southern California. Here are paintings by Tony Abeda, who she would have in her gallery. After her oldest son, Nigel, passed, Annette Uqualla started diversity awards to bring indigenous actors and artists together with modern-day artists and actors. Here's me with Irene Bedard, also known as Pocahontas, Jackie Chan, and Selma Hayek. My grandfather still kept the Havasupai language, being the oldest of 9, and he became head of the tribal council during the uranium mine protests, and having our dances like the peach dance still be legal. I do my best to keep the legacy strong and bring awareness to our presence by having clothes and ceremony as activism, wearing prayers in my clothes. And the legacy now is my mother passing on the traditions to me and continuing our teepee ceremonies, or Native American church is the legal name. Our dances make me feel really royal, and I know I have a place and connection with the earth. And it's more than glitz and glamour. Here's one of my fashion groups at the Cannes Film Festival around the Killers of the Flower Moon premiere. We chose to raise awareness towards missing and murdered Indigenous women. Here I am on the stage of Saturday Night Live and speaking at a poetry activism event in Santa Fe and at the Indigenous Forum at the White House, following in my grandfather Delmar's footsteps, bringing awareness in political spaces. all my ancestors, here my little brothers, Anita and Delmar now, and my great-grandmother, Neva P. Wardy, who taught me a lot about teepee meetings here in Wichita. And she really taught me a lot about ceremony. I've taken these stories to faraway lands, singing the songs and offering the prayers of my bloodline for those who had it taken away, and to show my little brothers anything is possible for us and that we still exist. I will continue to wear our regalia, even on my nails, while remembering that our ceremonies and traditions are the real medicine, way more than any celebrity. The spirits and ancestors are the biggest stars. My dream is to bring back the ceremonies here between the two rivers in Wichita and build ceremonial spaces for my relatives, to give gratitude to the land, elements, and spirits, and to my ancestors' strength, joy, and resilience. I will continue to learn and listen to our ancient ways. Kaho yehan ima ura.